Hey everyone, and welcome! Today we're diving into a super important force of nature, one you absolutely need to know for your physics exams, the magnetic field created by an electric current. We're going to build this whole idea from the ground up, so you really truly get it. Let's jump in.
All right, so let's kick things off with a really basic question. We know that when you flip a switch, current flows and a light bulb turns on. But what else is going on? What kind of invisible force field just pops into existence around that simple wire? That's the mystery we're solving today. So, here's the plan. We'll start with a simple, straight wire. Then, we'll see what happens when we bend it into a circle. After that, we'll stack those circles up into something called a solenoid. And finally, we'll compare all three to see why the shape of the wire is so important. All right, first up, the straight wire's field. Everything we're about to cover starts right here. Getting this right is absolutely crucial, so let's really focus in on this.
So, how can we even see an invisible field? Well, check this out. Imagine we do this simple experiment. First, we run a current through a wire. Second, we put a bunch of little compasses around it. And third, we just watch. The second that current is on, bam! The compass needles all snap into this perfect circular pattern. That movement, that's our proof.
And that's the big reveal, right? The way those compass needles moved shows us the actual shape of the magnetic field. It's not just some random mess, you guys. It's this beautiful, organized pattern of concentric circles, with the wire sitting right in the middle. This is a huge takeaway.
Okay, but which way are these circles going? Clockwise or anti-clockwise? Well, it all depends on which way the current is flowing. It's simple. If the current is coming up, like out of the page towards you, the field goes anti-clockwise. And if you flip the current so it's going down, into the page, the field flips too and goes clockwise.
Now, trying to memorize that might seem a little tricky, but there is an amazing, super simple trick to get it right every single time. It's called the right-hand thumb rule. Seriously, I want you to do this with me right now. Take your right hand, stick your thumb up like you're giving a thumbs up, and point it in the direction of the current. Now look at how your other fingers curl. The way your fingers curl, that's it. That's the exact direction of the magnetic field. Easy, right?
Okay, exam mode. Let's talk about getting those marks. If you get a 2-mark question asking you to describe the magnetic field around a straight wire, this is your golden answer. Just say 2 things. 1, the shape is concentric circles. And 2, the direction comes from the right-hand thumb rule. That's it. Boom, full marks.
All right, part 2, the circular coil's power. We've totally nailed the straight wire. So what if we take that straight wire and we just bend it into a circle? What does that do to the field?
So think about it. Every little bit of this wire is still making its own little circular field, just like we saw before. But inside the loop, oh man, all those fields team up, they add together, and they create one big, strong, straight magnetic field right through the center of the coil.
Okay, let's pause here for a second. A little brain teaser for you. So this coil now acts like a little magnet. It has a north pole and a south pole. If we know that an anti-clockwise current makes the side facing you a north pole, what happens if you reverse it and make the current flow clockwise? Go on, think about it. Got it? Of course, it becomes a south pole.
And you guessed it, there's a right-hand rule for this too. But wait, it's a little different, so pay close attention. For the straight wire, your thumb was the current. For a coil, you kind of flip the roles. This time, you curl your fingers in the direction of the current flowing around the loop, and your thumb points straight to the North Pole.
So, what if we want to crank this up? Make the magnet stronger. It's easy. There are 2 main ways. First, just pump more current through it. More current means a stronger field. Second, instead of just one loop, wind the wire around and around to make lots of turns. Each turn adds its own field, making the whole thing way more powerful.
And that brings us to part 3, the solenoid. We saw what one coil can do. Now, what happens if we stack a whole bunch of them together? Well, we get something called a solenoid. And trust me, this is where things get really cool.
First up, the textbook definition you'll need for the exam. A solenoid is just a long wire wound into a tight coil, or helix. Yeah, it pretty much just looks like a spring, right? But it's made of insulated wire.
And this is the whole point. When you pass a current through a solenoid, it creates a magnetic field that looks exactly like a regular permanent bar magnet. It has a clear north pole on one end and a south pole on the other. We've literally just built a magnet with some wire and a battery.
Now, the field around a solenoid is pretty special. On the outside, it looks just like a bar magnet. The field lines loop from north to south.
But the magic happens on the inside. This is so important. Inside the coil, the magnetic field is incredibly strong, perfectly straight, parallel, and uniform. And that's incredibly useful for all sorts of things, like in electric bells or giant industrial electromagnets. Okay, let's bring it all home. We've looked at the three big shapes: the straight wire, the circular coil, and the solenoid. Let's put them side by side and see the whole story.
This table sums it all up perfectly. We start with the straight wire and its simple circular field. Then, the circular coil takes that field and concentrates it in the middle. And finally, the solenoid stacks up those coils to create a super strong, uniform field inside, basically turning it into a bar magnet. You see the pattern, right? Each one is a level up from the last.
Okay, lightning round recap. If you remember nothing else, remember these 4 things. 1, anytime you have an electric current, you have a magnetic field, period. 2, your right hand is your best friend for figuring out the direction. 3, a solenoid is basically an electric bar magnet. And 4, magnetic field lines are always closed loops. They don't start or end anywhere.
So it all comes down to this one single powerful idea. An electric current always produces a magnetic field. But the pattern of that field, its shape and its strength, is completely determined by the shape of the wire that's carrying the current. If you get that relationship, you've basically nailed one of the biggest ideas in all of electromagnetism.